Exercise 22 reads that a killer whale has eaten 75 pounds of fish today. It needs at least 140 pounds of fish each day. And then part A, a bucket holds 15 pounds of fish. Identify an inequality that represents how many more buckets X of fish the whale needs to eat. So let's go ahead and highlight our important information. I'm going to erase this from the last problem. Let's highlight our important information. A killer whale has eaten 75 pounds of fish. Anytime you see a number, you should be highlighting the number. It needs at least 140 pounds of fish. Now that's two separate important pieces of information, because at least we've been working with in inequalities is a phrase, a key phrase, and then 140 pounds of fish each day. That's another just piece of information. So two pieces of information right next to each other. A bucket holds 15 pounds of fish. There's yet another piece of information. And then it wants us to identify an inequality that represents how many more buckets, X, our variable, of fish the whale needs to eat. So here we've got four different inequalities, but they all look just about the same. So, and all of them, they all have 75, the 15, and the 140. And then they have X. Now, where they are a little different is that in some of the inequalities, we can see that on this inequality, the X is being multiplied by 75, while on the other three inequalities, the X is being multiplied by 15. Well, before we start kind of deriving this problem, let's go ahead and just imagine the scenario. So we've got a killer whale. So here's my killer whale. There's my killer whale, and it's a killer whale, so let's make him angry. And let's give him like a scar too. So my killer whale has eaten 75 pounds of fish. So it already ate 75 pounds. So I put 75 pounds on the stomach. It needs to eat at least 140 pounds of fish each day. So I need to give it either 140 pounds or more if it needs to eat at least 140 pounds of fish each day. And it's already eaten 75 pounds. And then I also have that a bucket holds 15 pounds of fish. So I've got these buckets, each holding 15 pounds of fish. These are my chum buckets. They each hold 15 pounds of fish. And we need to identify an inequality that represents how many more buckets, X equals the number of buckets, how many buckets of fish the whale needs to eat. Well, in this scenario, if it's already eaten 75 pounds and I'm going to be feeding it buckets of fish, then for every one bucket that I'm feeding it, I'm adding 15 pounds to whatever has already been eaten. So essentially it's 75 plus 15, if it's one bucket, plus another 15, plus another 15, plus another 15, up until I get to 140 pounds exactly, or more than 140 pounds. But instead of doing 15 plus 15 plus 15, because we're just adding that same number multiple times, we call that multiplication. So 75 pounds of already eaten fish plus 15, that's how many pounds of fish are in a bucket, times the number of buckets, X, has to be either equal to 140 pounds or it has to be greater than 140 pounds. So then now I can look back at my inequalities, the four options that I have, and I see and look for the one that looks similar to the way that we reasoned it out. Following that, it wants you to solve the inequality. So it wants the solution of the inequality, and it's going to want this solution in simplest form. So you're going to need to treat it just like it is. It's a two-step inequality, and you're going to need to solve for X. And if you end up with a fraction, then you need to put that fraction in simplest form. So don't turn. I think it'll take the answer as a decimal, but you can also just leave it as a fraction in simplest form. Try either one. And then part B asks, should the whale eat 4 or 5 more buckets of fish? And explain why. And then you just have to fill in the blanks. If you only have a choice of whole buckets, that's assuming that we have to feed it whole buckets, the whale should eat 4 or 5 more buckets of fish, and then finish filling out the rest with